Incredible flavours, even better stories. One pour, 10 minutes, Aussie bourbon lovers sharing bourbon with Australia.
I think my favourite episodes are the ones where you pour, partly because you get really good cork pops.
That was a bit dense and quiet, that one.
This one is Makers Mark 2022 limited release. It's the BRT02. BRT stands for Barrel Rotation Team. O2 is because they released 2 different expressions that year.
Yeah.
Makers Mark are so cool for so many cool reasons, right?
They are.
In my humble view.
Only poured a tiny bit.
Yeah, there's still not much left,
because there's only a little drop left. So let's enjoy this one because I think the next time you pour it, it'll be a bottle kill. Makers Mark.
Cheers. So, can I tell you about how they made the Heart release is the one this year that they've released, and Trevor was telling us about this as we stood in that barrel room right at the end of it, where they do the end of the tours at Star Hill Farm.
Yeah,
so
we got to taste it.
We tasted it. It's really yummy. It's quite
that's
sought after.
This year's version of this one.
Well, yes,
sort of.
They kind of stopped doing these ones. I'm going to get the letters wrong. SAE, something like that, the year before in 2021. I think that's right.
No one's going to worry too much about the letters,
I don't know. Anyway, BRTO2. So what they do is they kind of go, how do we make a whiskey taste like, or as a tribute to the team and the people who make it? That's really what this is. That's what these releases are.
So they're trying to capture the story of the people.
Barrel rotation team.
Yep.
So let's start with the beginning. The only distillery that we know of, or the only big distillery certainly that makes bourbon that still rotates their barrels is?
Makers Mark.
Correct. And
by rotating, you don't mean spinning them around. You mean like putting some up the top, some down the bottom, and then changing them around because there's like levels and levels and levels of all the barrels.
Right.
And the ones at the top get really hot and the ones in the middle kind of don't. And so they shift them and change them all around, which lots of distilleries now no longer do because it requires a lot of manpower.
A lot of person power and a lot of like safety considerations and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Really labour intensive to move these heavy things all around. But Makers Mark will do it. Everyone else just kind of that's from a mix of places.
Yep.
Instead, they kind of go, all right, we're going to need some from the top, some from the bottom. Makers Mark, because they're only doing the one juice and the one expression. So, for example, Buffalo Trace would do the same thing, but they would say, all right, all the ones at the top are this brand, all the ones in the middle are this brand, all the ones at the bottom are this brand.
Yep.
Even though it's the same juice, that's the way they do that. Makers Mark only have the one brand. They don't make anything. They've got the 46 where they put their staves in and all that kind of stuff. But because it's the one consistent product, they're trying to get a consistent result.
Yeah, so they're moving it around so that every barrel kind of gets equal.
Oh, glad we spent 3 minutes on that. All right, this is finished, stave finished. So there's technique they use for 46. They pop the top off and they put staves in. But they want to tell a story with it. So
they're trying to capture a particular flavour, aren't they?
This is exactly it. And I'm trying to remember. I think this is the bottom of the rickhouse. BRT01 tells the story of the first 3 years of extraction at the top of the warehouse, and BRT02 is the final years of the reaction at the bottom of the rickhouse where it's cooler. So obviously the top of the rickhouse is the top, and Buzzard's Roost, for example, is named after where the Buzzard's Roost, which is the top of the rickhouse. That's a different bourbon I'm talking about. Sorry,
yeah, you're going off on a tangent again.
Sorry. So they tell us that this one has darker, chocolatey, fruity, and nut notes. And
it sounds delicious, and do you know what? It smells. I definitely get the fruity and
the power of suggestion. I'm getting a bag of scorched fruit and nut chocolates.
Oh, like a bag of scorched fruit and nut chocolates. You just covered every bit off the label. You can't do that.
It's the power of suggestion, right? It's delicious.
I definitely get the nuts.
It's delicious. Chocolate is one of these fun ones, right? So bourbon to me, I almost never, I love, love, love chocolate. Milky, creamy chocolate.
There's very few that I'll get a distinct can't even talk now, chocolate flavour on my palate.
That's how good it is.
It's delicious.
It is
delicious. We probably use that word way too much. But I definitely, when I nose it, I get the nuts. But when you drink it, I get that smooth chocolatey flavour.
It's like that creamy chocolatey, you let chocolate sit on your tongue for a while.
Yeah,
and
it kind of melts and feels all smooth, and you get that definite, at the back of my throat, that smooth.
Cadbury Dairy Milk glass and a half, kind of just sitting on your tongue.
That kind of feel, yeah.
Oof, great. So BRTO2 is the bottom of the rickhouse, BRTO1 is the top of the rickhouse, and then the heart release this year, for example, is...
The centre of the rickhouse?
No. What?
No, I was just going the top, the bottom. I was like, it's the middle where the heart is. I'll let you actually tell the real story.
Well, you heard the story. Do you know what it is?
I'll let you tell.
All right. Well, so they asked all the team, tell us about the heart of what it is, the people, what it is, what are the flavours and smells and scents of the heart of being at Makers Mark?
They interviewed, there was a crazy amount, the whole staff, or they conducted hundreds of interviews about what different smells people got when they were working in their particular area of the distillery, what flavours they connected to where they worked and what flavours made them think of where that particular area.
And it sounds a bit fluffy and stuff, but then they went then it gets real sciencey, right? So
yeah.
Do you remember what the flavours are? I'm not going to remember.
Yes, one of them was they asked one of the employees and they said it smelled like weed or tobacco or something really funny, and they were like, yeah, but it can't possibly be that smell unless someone's smoking something.
Right.
And then they went there and it was...
Is it as they take this... As they finish steam cleaning the cedar fermenters,
yeah, there was some,
when you first take the covers off,
and there was that particular scent, and they absolutely smelt the same thing, and they were like, "We know what you mean." It was the different parts of the distillery had really distinctive, different, weird and wonderful smells.
You've gone straight for the weirdest one, though. It's not. If you drink the heart release of Makers Mark, it's not going to taste like weed.
No.
It does not contain any.
But it was the fact that each interview they took, someone might have smelled apples, and so they then obviously that was the orchard section, or they just tried to capture everyone's different. I'm trying to remember the other one. The other one was really funny.
I can't.
It was cats or dogs, or there was something with animals. Can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember.
But there was lots of different flavours, and they tried to kind of capture as much of this as they could in their bottle heart.
So
and
cool.
It was really amazing.
And they do that by selecting the combination of staves. So there's a mix of science and art to this. And it's so Makers Marky, and the more time we get to spend there with them and hear about what they do and their history and everything, it's so
My thing is, it's
beautiful.
more than just a bourbon. It's it's stories. It's the focus on the environment. There's just so much more than just a bourbon.
I don't know how to...
Or just a good bourbon. It's a great bourbon. It's got a great history, which lots of the bourbons have. But there's this element of something different.
I feel like you and I can only get better at explaining this, because I feel like we just sound like brand fan boys and girls of this particular brand. Maybe, what if we say it like this? One of the things that happened is that in the early 2000s, it was really obvious that they needed to replace some of the stills, and there's very new technology. They've been using the same still technology since 1953 when they first started distilling Makers Mark. And there's very obvious advancements in technology. So you can save yourself truckloads of money by just using better, newer tech, and they just won't do it.
They were just we know this old version creates the delicious drink that it does. So let's not do all the new techie stuff. Let's just create a replica of the old one that's now no longer in use. They just created an exact same replica because they knew that is what it took to make the amazing stuff they make.
They use a roller mill instead of a hammer mill. Everyone uses a hammer mill because it's more efficient. Their old roller mill breaks down all the time. They still use that. It's the hardest thing to use. They still do all of these processes, which
they're
are just
labels. They have two people sitting there
hand stamping every label,
hand cutting the labels, as in on a machine, that you press down and
every
cut
bottle's
them out.
hand dipped by wax. So they talk about Makers Mark being handmade, which is
it is incredible that the amount of passion that goes into it from so many different people, and And the tour we went on with Trevor, he was like, he's only one person in one section of the distillery, but he just had so much enthusiasm and passion and love for the different section that he took us on, like all the farming and how they're using the land, like the fact that they've planted apples and berries and all this stuff because they're flavours that they get in their bourbon and they wanted to then give back to the land. And then the fact that they're producing apples and pears and all this stuff, they then go and use it in their cocktails and at their restaurant, and they've got
Our passion for it doesn't come from necessarily what it tastes like to drink, but for the people that we've met as part of the journey from it. So the BRTO2 release that we're having here, our passion for it is about those people and the people that we've met who've been part of the team. And we've only met a few of them, and not just the rock stars who everyone knows their names and they started it, but the people who are on the ground doing it.
Yeah.
So here's to them.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you're connected with us on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube, and stay connected with us by clicking subscribe on your favourite podcast app.